Hello, I'm Bill Paxton, Mayor of the City of Paducah, and we're here today to talk about quality of life matters in Paducah. We have been doing this show for approximately 6 years now, and talking about quality of life matters, which might be the skateboard park, it might be good police, it might be the fire department, it could be good roads, many things represent quality of life. Today we're excited about having Frank Bennett, who is CEO of our National Quilt Museum here in Paducah. Welcome, Frank.
Thank you.
And Mary Hammond, who is Executive Director of the Visitors and Convention Bureau. Mary, it's good to have you back.
I'm delighted to be here, Mayor.
And we're here to talk about the Quilt Museum and about tourism and what tourism means to Paducah in this area. So, Frank, I'll start with you. You're new to Paducah.
I am.
And so tell me about when you arrived and tell me a little bit about your background, if you would.
Sure, Mayor, I'd be happy to. I arrived almost exactly 3 months ago, but I've been coming here for 4 years. I was on the board of directors of the Quilt Museum, so once a quarter or so I would be here. I'm familiar with the city, and it's a great little town, but as far as being here consistently, it's been almost 3 months now. I grew up in Memphis, lived there for 18 years, moved around a little bit after that, went to college at Middle Tennessee State, there in Murfreesboro, and lived most of my life in Tennessee, so this area of the country I'm used to. Lived in Jacksonville, Florida for about 10 years right after college, and most recently I moved here from Dallas.
Well, good. Well, it's good to have you in Paducah, and of course we all know that the Quilt Museum is the largest tourism attraction in Paducah. So tell us, Frank, a little bit about how many people come to the Quilt Museum and what you might see when you're there.
Sure. Well, as far as I'll start with how many people come. In an average year, we get about 40,000 visitors. And to give you an idea, well over 95% of those visitors come in from outside of this community. So this brings in a lot of dollars as far as dollars to the economy, to restaurants, to hotels, and what have you. We actually get visitors from all 50 states and over 40 foreign countries. And the visitors we get, they generally fall into two categories. We get cultural tourists, which are folks who commonly, when they're visiting different states, will go to art museums and museums in general. One cultural tourist I was actually talking to recently, where I said she'd been to over 50 museums around this country and around Europe, around the world, and I said, well, what do you liken us closest to? And she said, well, just tell people that if they like the Chicago Institute of Art, they'll like us. So it's a good frame point for people if they've been there, they'll like what we have too. The second group that we get a lot of is part of the 21 million quilters around the United States. And these are people who are active quilters and come here. It's almost like a homecoming for them.
They're passionate.
Yes, they're
They
very
are.
passionate, yes.
Yeah.
Today, as I picked you up, came through the parking lot, there were 7 cars. I mean, we're talking early. I mean, today, just surprised.
No, you were actually at the museum about a month ago and noticed it was maybe 10 in the morning. We had cars from 10 different states all at the same time in the parking lot.
We're license plate watchers, got to see where those folks are coming from. And I love to see their comments, but the quilters are passionate. It doesn't matter, as you and I were talking in the car, the different types of quilters that are out there. But it doesn't matter if it's the very basic quilter, who maybe never took a class of self-taught, or someone who is coming here to take one of the classes from a world-renowned quilter, which you offer every year.
Absolutely.
I mean, the lineup is unbelievable of the quilters that are teaching classes.
Yeah.
Well, Mary, you're being the director of the Visitors and Tourist and Convention Center. Tell the audience a little bit how the arts have impacted Paducah, in your opinion. Yeah,
that's really wide open, Mayor. I love it when, put it real basic, without even getting into the money factor of people visiting us and bringing fresh money to Paducah and people. But I think the arts in Paducah have helped us grow as people. I love how Rosemary talks about the first creative economy, the first creative folks that came here when the plant opened, and the scientists came here, and those are the creative economy, and people who helped start our museums and our symphony back when we had community concerts, and who have helped us grow. And the Quilt Museum came, and we're still, I mean, more people wanting to have hands-on experiences and to learn how to create something themselves. And when Lower Town came along, I've seen us as a community become more tolerant as we've loosened up and learned to enjoy different types of art. It's been good for us.
It's obviously brought a lot of people into our community who stay at our hotels and eat at our restaurants, so it's been an economic impact.
The people who enjoy our quality of life every day of the year, and it is good.
Good, good. Now we became the National Quilt Museum. When, Frank?
This is about 4 years ago that occurred.
4 years ago.
Of course, I love the whole title, the National Quilt Museum of the United States. You know, I really like having that tail end on there, because that really tells the story. This is not something that someone just plopped down on the title. This is through the Congress, and it's, yeah, we're very proud. It gave us a huge distinction and a boost in our marketing of the city. And yeah, people may say, well, you know, why are you marketing quilting? Well, it's because we do research-based marketing, and if anything has to do with quilting, the numbers are unbelievable. There are people who will travel long distances to come to Paducah, and they are people who have depth. They're not interested just in quilting. They are the cultural tourist who wants to experience your community, the shops, the museums, the art galleries, to see what's going on at the Carson Center or the Market House Theater. I think gets so many visitors.
Here,
they
do
do
many other things.
They do. And they come back.
So, Frank, I mean, 21 million quilters. What a huge number. I had no idea it was that many. I should have, but you're saying 40,000 people visit the museum every year.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And what kind of people? I know. I guess they're all quilters, are they not?
No. About quilters are really our second group, where it's the cultural tourists, the people that love art, the people that love history and culture, and as Mary just said, they're advanced. They have an understanding of a lot of different cultural things. Those are the people we mostly see on a day-to-day basis. You know, we mentioned that that one morning she noticed we had 10 different license plates at once. You know, we get a lot of quilters, but we get them obviously for events, and we get them all year long.
Yes.
But on an average day, we see more cultural tourists that are wanting to have that art museum experience that come in.
Well, what confuses a lot of people is the difference between our quilt show and our quilt museum. And of course, the quilt show is the American Quilter Society. So explain a little bit to our audience about the difference in those two.
Sure. Yeah, the Quilt Show obviously comes every April, last week of April, and it's a great show, but it's a completely separate organization from us. Our organization, the National Quilt Museum, was founded by the Schrader family almost 21 years ago, and they also own AQS, but we're a completely separate 501c3. We're not owned by anyone, and actually the majority of our revenue comes from people actually attending and coming in and paying admission and getting things from the quilt shop and what have you. So it's just one of those cases where we're both in the same city and we're both flourishing, but we're completely separate organizations.
So, okay, separate organizations, and at the Quilt Show, you normally have how many people come into Paducah for a quilt show?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak with authority on that. Don't they usually say it's like 30 to 35,000? Is that correct?
But here is a confusion in many parts. So many of those folks don't go to the Quilt Museum.
No.
They can't quite make that distinction in their minds that this is a museum that is here all the time, and that the quilt show is here. We've been trying
talk
to
about that
talk
a lot.
all the time.
There's
right?
a important distinction there, Mayor, which is a lot of people locally do think, well, isn't that just all the people who came to the quilt show coming to the museum? It's actually not the case. In 2010 numbers, for the 2010 quilt show, about 7,200 of the people who came to the quilt show came to the museum. As I mentioned, we have over 40,000 people a year come to the museum. So generally the show will make up between about 12 and 18% of our total yearly admissions.
That's interesting. Well, now, Mary, obviously tourism is important to Paducah. It's important to your organization. Why do we want to be a player in the arts? In your opinion, why is that important?
There are a lot of different types of travelers. Business travelers. People are just passing through. People who are this cultural traveler, they stay longer, they spend more money, they're usually a little bit more affluent, they have more spending money. They want to go to nice restaurants. That doesn't mean they won't stop at the fast food restaurants, but they like to really experience your community, walk the streets. They have an appreciation, and most of them have a pretty good travel experience when you get down to the demographics of how many trips they take a year, that kind of a thing. And the comments that they leave in our book or tell us, and you've probably heard them as well, they see in our community sometimes things that we don't see ourselves. And I really appreciate the cleanliness, the quality of the architecture, the spirit of the place, all of those things that also led to the Dozen Distinctive Destinations Award. And to be right in there with some of those towns we admire so much, and sometimes say to ourselves, and Paducah's in there as well? Well, yes, it is. And it's, yeah. I loved it that you said people who might enjoy the Chicago School of Institute of Art. We were advertising in their magazine.
Oh, okay, great.
And I love that. And they do some bus tours, and we're working with them to come to Paducah and then go maybe on to Franklin. We're very similar communities who've been a dozen distinctive destinations. So, we like partnerships, and we like thinking outside the box with our partnerships.
So, Mary, while you're there, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about being one of the distinctive cities, and sort of explain a little bit about that award?
Well, we've had applied in the past to be a dozen distinctive destinations. This is through the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and they're looking for communities that are distinctive, that have preserved their past, have kept this quality of life. Oh, let's see, I think I brought this article. I love this. Karen Nicholas, who is with the National Trust, wrote a very nice article, and I love this part. It's the only reason I brought this paper. She said, what I kept wondering was this: how did Paducah become this vibrant town that would have a chance of being one of the dozen distinctive destinations? I think it boils down to this. They knew what they had: good bones of a historic downtown, the human resources to restore it, and the feeling of community. I think we have all of those. We have people who have a vision. They knew what they wanted: economic prosperity, the arts, something to sell that would be an asset to the town, and the will and knowledge to promote what they built over time, a winning combination. I think that says it all.
Yeah.
And it really boils down to the people of Paducah.